Hey y'all, 1776 Duck here. Welcome back to the channel, and today, very special gun. Very special gun, and I say that, I think a lot of the time, I say this is a very special gun. And usually they are. I mean, I really have an emotional attachment with most of my pistols, especially pistols. A lot of my rifles I could give a shit less, but my pistols, I have a very close emotional attachment with handguns. And I think that's actually something that's fairly common with a lot of Americans, because here's the thing. You know, like, you can, I toss a rifle in the car with me every once in a while, and I have a rifle for the, or a shotgun for the house defense, but there is something about having a gun that you put on your person every single day that makes handguns just unique and emotional to the person carrying them. So, my handguns I'm very emotionally attached, and as many people know, I'm sure you do now, if if you're here, I'm sure you realize, I'm very emotionally attached to the 1911 pistol. It's just the essence of America. It's the fist of democracy, and I love it so much. So, we're going to talk about a really important one today, and I'm kind of going through the timeline-ish of 1911 pistols. And today we're going to talk about really my first custom gun. Now, technically, it's not. I actually sent this gun off for custom work, but it was not received back until after I got my first custom gun, which is a Springfield Professional. We'll get to that gun later, but this is my first true blue sent off a gun, got it back, and really probably one of the most important guns in my collection. So we'll get right into it. So the story of this pistol starts all the way back when I first turned 21. So I just turned 21, and I actually was lucky enough to be invited up to Rock Island Auction with a very good friend of mine, Tyler Anderson, who owns Ozark Machine Gun Range, and he also sells old guns. He's got a gun broker, Waffen US. Check it out if you want. If you don't want to, that's fine too. But I went up there with him, and my goal was to have a pre-war commercial 1911. I was obsessed, and still am obsessed, with pre-war commercial 1911s. I wanted one so badly, and long story short, we get in there. It's epic. It is really much more exhilarating than you would think, doing the auction thing. In fact, there was one gun that came across the block, and it was a very nicely refinished, I want to say a 1917 commercial gun. Really nice, and the refinish job was really period correct. Like, it was a very good gun. And I actually was bidding on that pretty hard, and got it to the, I had a list of guns that I wanted to buy, but I had prices that I wouldn't go any higher. So, like, I'm on the last, this 1970 commercial, I'm on the last, bid amount that I'm going to go. Any more higher, I'm out, okay? And I raise my thing, auctioneer gets it. Hammer drops. Holy crap, I just won my first, 1911 at Rock Island. I'm stoked, man. I am just shitting in high cotton at this point. Well, it turns out this guy right in front of me, who I never even noticed if he had something up. I mean, when you're in auction, you watch him think, hey, doing like that right there, so people know that you're bidding on something. And this old boy in front of me, he tried to bamboozle. Well, he didn't try. He bamboozled, the auction house, and he actually claimed that he was holding up his thing the whole time, and that we had to reopen bidding, and in an act that I had not ever seen in an auction house, and have not seen ever since, they reopened the bidding, and he immediately jumps. This old man looks back at me. I'm just 21, and I don't look near as handsome or as old as I do now, and he looks back at me, and he goes right to my throat, and he throws up a number that was way higher than I would have ever wanted to go to on that gun. And eventually buy it. I mean, he bought the gun actually more than it was worth. And I'm just pissed off. I mean, I'm madder than hell. And so, I kind of skulk around, and then the last day of the auction, I see a 1919 Colt government model. Almost no one's in the auction at this point. It goes across the block. I grab it. And it wasn't original or correct. It had been chromed, and there was a few parts, not many, but there was a few parts that had been changed. So I figured, I'm going to get me a commercial model that I can afford and enjoy, and so that's what I'm going to do. So I get the gun, and it's awesome, It's awesome having a pre-war gun. I'm carrying it, I'm shooting it, and all of a sudden one day at the range, I noticed that, well, the extractor's kind of going a little bit out of tune. And at this point, I'd gotten a couple of 1911s, so I kind of did an uncharacteristic thing, and I stuck it in the safe and then just moved to another 1911 and didn't really think about it. Well, I was getting ready to graduate college, and I noticed that, well, I don't notice, COVID happens. I don't know if I can say that word on here. I don't know if people are going to get all jumpy about it, but the whole COVID debacle happens. And I'm in college, right? Senior year, and they basically send us home and don't tell us, that you ain't coming back. Real interesting, real crazy, situation to be in. So you didn't really have any graduation, not that I wanted one, but you didn't have any really graduation parties. You didn't really have that congratulatory deal that you see a lot when other people graduate college. It was really strange because it was like the world just stopped turning. So I had just landed my first job in the industry at US Optics, and I finally had a little bit of adult money, and I wanted to get something nice for myself for that, congratulations on, graduating college, which I'm going to be honest, college really isn't like a big deal in my opinion, but, I'm the first of my entire bloodline to ever go to college, so maybe that kind of is a little bit more, important. So I decided to send off this 1919 Colt government model to Nighthawk. And I'm sorry, if you went this far and we barely talked about the gun, I want to tell you the story that leads up to these things. So that 1919, I pull it out of the safe and I went, I'm going to do something special with this gun. And at this point, Nighthawk was really the only custom shop I was familiar with. I mean, I really didn't know much about the one-man shops that I do today. I was just really getting geared up into the 1911 world. And keep in mind, a lot of what I know about the 1911 and has come from mentors or just on my own. I didn't have a lot of people who were 1911 guys kind of guiding me along at the very beginning of my journey. Really, Ken Hackthorne, Larry Vickers, Bill Wilson, that YouTube channel from Wilson Combat was the only thing that I was getting information from regularly at that point in my life. So anyways, I decided to send this gun to Nighthawk Custom. Bob Reeves, who I cannot speak any more highly of. Bob Reeves is an absolute saint. I'm pretty sure he will probably get sainthood at some point because he's just amazing. So I send the gun off to Bob Reeves. I sent it off, looks like September 18th of 2020. So the summer after I was supposed to graduate. And, the vid was definitely full bore at that point. So I sent it off. I actually didn't get the gun back until July of the following year. So July of 2021 is when the gun came back to me. And basically, I'm just going to, go through the invoice here, and we're going to just go through everything that was done on this gun because it's a lot and I can't remember it all. So bear with me there. The first page has a lot of stuff that I was just buying because I kind of was fanboying about having a Nighthawk, even though it's not really a Nighthawk, but it is kind of at the time especially. So I got like the pistol case and a couple stickers and a display peg. I got a couple parts for some other guns I had at the time. And then, so the first thing we had to do was strip the nickel finish that was on, the chrome finish that was on the gun. So we stripped that, and that was not a cheap process there. So the gun was laser engraved with Nighthawk Custom on the frame. This is for only qualifying builds. So what does that mean, a qualifying build? Well, at the time, that meant that this gun had to have a reliability package, it had to have a Nighthawk barrel, and I believe a Nighthawk trigger job to have the Nighthawk logo put on the gun. And that's actually going to be important. We're going to have to talk about that in a second. So I did also have my last name, Duckworth, engraved on the front strap there. I always thought, I saw that some police force during the pre-war era would put like their department name on the front strap, and I thought it was cool, so I wanted to put my last name on the front strap. This is not a gun I plan on getting rid of. So they did machine the front sight. They had to, because obviously this gun predates the Novak cut. French bore the slide, tighten the frame to slide, fit and install a new ejector, new extractor, new firing pin and firing pin spring, new firing pin stop, new barrel, new bushing, obviously a 45, reliability action, a reliability package with an action tune, trigger job. So on the trigger job, this gun had a big wide spur hammer. I love that about these old guns. Big wide spur hammer, that's my jam. The problem is that Nighthawk did not want to do a trigger job on the original hammer because the heat treating process that they used in the pre-war era, not fantastic. So I searched high and low to try to find a spur hammer that would pass the Nighthawk quality control, because of course they're not going to work on a MIM part, which is most of them you see. Now you'll find the T-Sauce forged parts. I don't know if they'll work on those, but this actually came from Turnbull. Okay, so this was not cheap. This was like a $190 hammer, okay? But it is correct for the serial number. They don't sell them anymore. I don't know why. I mean, that is a lot of money for a hammer, but I was wanting that hammer really bad. That's a center focal point on this gun, so the hammer had to happen. So we did that. I did have an EGW flat mainspring housing because the original gun, someone had put an arched mainspring housing, which isn't correct for this gun, so we did put a correct mainspring housing with the lanyard loop on it. They did contour the mag well, so you know, most old Colts, it's you know, the mag well goes straight out of the bottom of the frame. This, they beveled the mag well and created a little bit of a mag well there. They gave it a grade 3 carry D-horn, which is very nice. Great, you know, this doesn't tear up leather or anything like that. Really nice. And then, of course, the smoke nitride finish, which is what everybody said it really is drawn to on this gun. We did a gold bead front sight, Harrison rear retro sight, and then, of course, they did the test fire. And then the next couple pages are just parts that they used, so that's cool. And then here is the test target. Get that in focus there. So, test target's pretty cool. It's good information to have with your gun. So get into this gun. This is one of the most important guns that I have ever owned. I've always been obsessed with the pre-war era guns, but obviously there are some things that I wanted, you know, shooting experience-wise to be different from a pre-war gun. I've got several other pre-war guns, and, you know, compared to the modern day, they kind of aren't fantastic. You know, the sights especially are the number one. The sights on original pre-war guns are what they call hump and bump, and they are not fantastic. So, of course, the addition of really good sights on this gun was absolutely a must. But more importantly, I wanted a pre-war gun that was a hot rod. You know, a lot of people might call this a sleeper build because, you know, if you look at this gun kind of over here, you think, oh yeah, that's just a worn out old Colt. But once you start shooting this thing, you understand everything's a little different. Now, from a shooting perspective, of course, it does shoot a little bit better. Obviously, accuracy is improved with the fit barrel. And obviously, tightening everything up does help with the recoil impulse. But most importantly, you'll notice it still does have that big spur hammer, and it does have this GI short grip safety. And so this gun does make you bleed a lot, actually. And so a lot of people don't like shooting it for that reason. I actually think it's, you know, just makes you tougher, okay? Because when you're at the range, okay, and you're next to somebody who carries something like a, you know, something wuss like a SIG 320 or something, and they're shooting it, and they're, you know, they're the kind of people that wear the gloves at the range, you know, and you're just over there tearing it up with a 45 caliber, you know, pre-war, back when America was America, you know, back when men were men, okay, and not, you know, men being women sometimes like it is today. That's what this gun is. And so when you're just banging away, pow, 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 and you've just got this blood sacrifice to St. Browning just happening at the back of this gun, because that's what it really is. It looks like a blood sacrifice. I mean, the whole back of the gun will be covered in blood for me, the way that I wedge my hand up in there. So, you know, it's like almost the hammer's being dipped into blood and then slung forward. Like my glasses will usually have some blood droplets on it, you know, from where the blood is slinging up. My hand's always dripping in blood. In fact, one time I came back from the range and there was actual chunks of my hand on the hammer still. So, you know, it is an epic shooting experience. You know, if you're kind of a BDSM guy, you know, if you're kind of into that sort of thing, such as myself, you know, it's an experience for sure that people don't really talk to you about when you talk about pre-war guns. So it definitely is fun there, but the sights are wonderful. This gun's a hoot to shoot, and even though this gun is my least aggressive gun as far as the grip goes, because normally, if you know me, you know I like 15, 17, 20 LPI, front strap and rear strap checkering. I like VZ grips. And this gun has smooth giraffe bone grips that were made by Hillbilly Grips. I actually don't know if he still makes grips, but these were beautifully made by him. And then, of course, the gun doesn't have any front strap checkering or rear strap check or mainspring housing checkering. And it still really stays in your hand well. I don't understand that about this gun. And, you know, I do enjoy shooting it one-handed. Much like they would have back in the early 1900s. It's just an absolute joy to shoot, and it's a piece of history, and I don't feel bad about what I did to the gun or what Nighthawk did to the gun, because the gun wasn't a collector piece beforehand. And then furthermore, I feel like I did honor the pistol in that sense that the gun doesn't have anything crazy. It's not tricked out. You know, if you look at this gun, you know, over here, you wouldn't really know that anything's really been done to it unless you're keen and you pick up on the sights. But really a special gun to me. An emotional gun to me. Kind of represents, you know, my graduation of college, but also my first custom gun, and, you know, one of the first pre-war guns I got. It's a lot of firsts right here. You know, this is definitely a gun that I really think about a lot. I've worn this gun at almost every single major life function of my life. You know, like my best friend getting married, I had this gun on a shoulder holster. You know, I think it's kind of like my, if we had to use the term, barbecue gun. If you've seen the 1911 Syndicate, look at that. There's a mosquito. Sorry about that. If you look at the 1911 Syndicate's video, which is, I had a good time filming it. Some people seem to not like that video, but if you look at that video, top 5 1911s you should own, you'll see me talk about this gun in depth as far as like from a barbecue gun perspective. It is really, though, when it comes to barbecue guns, you kind of have to be in the know to kind of understand this is a barbecue gun. Like most people would probably think, I don't know, it's some freaking tea sauce or something, you know, sitting in a holster. But upon further inspection, they would be dramatically wrong about that thought. But yeah, it's a great gun. You know, we kept the slide, we kept the frame, kept the slide stop, the safety, and the grip safety. Obviously, the hammer is correct, but it is not the original hammer. So there is still a lot of pre-war parts, and they did a really good job tightening up all these parts. I mean, I actually didn't know it could be done that way at the time. So these parts are really, really nice and tight. They feel good. And this gun, like I said, is just a pleasure to shoot, just a hoot to shoot, as one might say. And so I'm super blessed to have it. And I'm sorry for rambling about this gun, but this is a gun I get a little emotional about just because it means so much to me. It's a fantastic gun. I really think this is one of my favorite guns that I own for a lot of different reasons, but it is beautifully done. You know, I can't thank Bob Reeves at Nighthawk's Custom Shop enough. And if you have a project like this, I'm sure, you know, if you reach out to him, he'd be more than happy to talk to you about it. So make sure you check him out. But this really is a fantastic, fantastic gun that I have a lot of history with. And like I said, you know, normally I don't advocate for cutting up and working on old pre-war Colts. Like, even if they've been refinished, I may not would even advocate for it. But for one that had missing parts and the really, really not correct chrome finish, this is a great candidate for a custom job, and I'm really, really happy with how this came out. It's very cohesive. Everything works together. Everything looks together. There's nothing that seems out of place. So I don't know. It's and also everyone says it looks like the Longmire pistol, which that actually is a post 24. Actually, I don't remember what gun that is, but it is a pre-war commercial gun. And it has like the big elk grips, I believe, on it. But everyone sees a kind of worn pre-war gun with bone grips, and they just think Longmire. So anyways, that is my Nighthawk custom Colt. I appreciate you sticking around. I'm sorry that this one was a little bit longer. I kind of rambled even more than I normally do, so I apologize for that. But thank you for stopping by. Remember, I do work for Alchemy Custom Weaponry, best damn 1911s on the planet. We'll talk about my personal Alchemies. I've got them right over here. You know, that's one of my main carry guns there, and then the one that I'm working into the rotation, this new Quantico. So definitely check out Alchemy Custom Weaponry. Make sure you check out guns.com. They are the sponsor of this channel, and you know what? Guns.com plays into this very well. So if you have an idea, you say, hey, you know what? I want to do a custom gun. guns.com is a great way to start out finding your base gun, okay? One of my best friends actually, called me and he said, hey, you know what, I want to do a custom gun with Rob Shallon of Shallon Performance, who I have a gun being built by as well. And I said, okay, well, we'll find you a nice gun. Well, we ended up finding him a 1969 National Match Colt for a dumb deal, like less than what a modern Colt goes for. And, he snagged it on guns.com, and of course is going to be sending that out to Shallon to get rebuilt, and that'll be a fantastic. National Match guns are awesome base guns, especially with the wider trigger they have. It feels amazing, but that is besides the point. Guns.com, great place to look for your next base gun, especially with the certified use section, so make sure you check that out. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, or whatever you call yourselves, thank you for joining me on this journey talking to you about one of my favorite guns. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and remember, carry cocked and locked.